Hi and welcome to my trip report on Malaysia Airlines flight MH52, an economy class flight from Kuala Lumpur's international airport to Osaka's Kansai International Airport. So right now we've just boarded the aircraft and it's after boarding in economy class with a view of the cabin and the seating in the cabin as well as the general view of the cabin outlook. The seat pitch for Malaysia Airlines 34 inches, so you can see plenty of leg room, and that's one of the largest seat pitches of any economy class on the market. Usually I think most economy classes only have 32 inches, so this one is considerably longer at 34 inches. But I guess the criticism with Malaysia Airlines economy class is the age of the cabin and the seating, which you can see is quite old. The tray table, the meal table in front is old, and the LCD TVs, as you can see, are also, they look a bit old as well. Right now it's the after boarding cabin announcements by the cabin crew. You can see the cabin is quite spacious on the 777-200 extended range version, which is what this aircraft is. And right now there are the Japanese announcements by the crew member who can speak Japanese. I'm not sure whether it's a native speaker or whether it's a Malaysian who can speak Japanese. It's hard to tell, I think, for me. And there you have the contents of the seat pocket in front, which is the in-flight shopping magazine, the aircraft magazine, the safety leaflet and the envelope for the charity donations, as well as the duty-free shopping. The LCD TV appears to be quite small compared to some on the market now. Most seem to use the Panasonic 10.6 inch version. This one's a lot smaller and the resolution, as you can tell, is not quite as good. Neither is the color reproduction. The safety video here, it's tailored depending on the type of aircraft you're flying. So here it's the Boeing 777 version, and it hasn't really changed since I last flew or first flew international about hasn't changed from 3 years ago, this safety video. There's a hearing impaired aid version on the lower left corner of the screen. General guidelines on where to stow your luggage so that it presents no safety problem during the flight and during takeoff and landing. Instructions on how to operate your seatbelt, which hasn't changed. The seatbelt is still in the older style of Malaysia Airlines. Now it's actually after takeoff, because I didn't record the video during the takeoff as it wasn't really seated in the window and it wasn't really going to be very valuable. So there's pleasant in-flight music after the takeoff and the cabin is dimmed. Heading northeast towards Osaka. The flight path software and program is showing there, which on Malaysia Airlines I think is probably not the best or most detailed version. The one I like most is the one on Emirates, where they have a lot more detail, including the in-flight camera mounted on somewhere on the aircraft, which allows you to see the aircraft and what's exactly outside the aircraft when it's flying and landing, taking off, for example. With Malaysia Airlines, usually they have the announcements in Malay first, and then in English, and then on this flight in Japanese, and on other flights it will be the language that you're of the destination country. So if you're flying to Sydney, they would only have Malay and English.
Ladies and gentlemen, the seatbelt sign is now off. For your safety, may we remind you to keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you are seated. You may use your electronic devices. However, the use of mobile phone is prohibited.
Electronic portable devices are allowed for use during the flight, but usually not during the takeoff or landing, in case of interference with the aircraft's avionics or electronics systems.
Please refer to the Going Places magazine. Our sales will commence after the meal service. Have a look at our Temptations in-flight shopping brochure, and our crew will be delighted to assist you. For enriched members, please present your membership card. You will earn 2 enriched miles for every 1 ringgit spent. Meanwhile, if you need any assistance, please call us.
Earlier, the cabin crew were handing out the headsets, which I usually tend not to use because of the low quality compared to what you can get for yourself. And during the flight, it's probably best to use the noise cancelling headsets. And so you just buy the adapter and plug it in to give you the better sound quality, as well as blocking out the cabin ambient noise, which can be quite distracting. Sound from the engines mainly. Although those noise cancelling headphones also can help to block out the sound of children crying, for example. The outside temperature is 17 degrees Celsius, so it's still not at the maximum altitude, obviously. Here you have the snack, which they serve usually after the takeoff. And here it was just a roll with fish or chicken, I think, and some sort of mayonnaise. It wasn't the best tasting roll, but it was just okay as a appetizer or a snack before the main meal.
52 from Kuala Lumpur to International Airport.
So now the captain is giving his announcement with the flight details about the altitude of the aircraft, direction that they're heading, the flight path, and usually when they expect to land, as well as the weather en route, as well as general flight conditions. You saw the peanuts there and the guava juice.
Information, the local time now for Kansai is 28 minutes past 1 in the morning.
Malaysia Airlines international flights, they always give you a packet of peanuts soon after takeoff.
Thank you.
Here the cabin crew is actually repeating what the flight crew announced, since it's in the Japanese language, so the captain only spoke English, and Japanese passengers obviously wouldn't understand that, or would not necessarily understand that, so that would be the reason for the announcement in Japanese. You can see the side of this aircraft. It has a slanted luggage storage. The ceiling is slanted on the side, which creates an impression of space, I think. That's something I quite like about the 777 in some cases. It's quite different from the Boeing 747. The main meal here was the omelette with sausage, potatoes or fries, and peas and the tomato. Also they included a tub of yogurt, a fruit tray, and some milk with tea and coffee facilities. You can see here that the cabin is shaking a little, and towards the second half of the flight it became quite bumpy. Actually, it was quite difficult to sleep during the second half of the flight because it was quite consistently bumpy and not really smooth. I'm not actually sure if that's a characteristic of this flight path to Osaka, or whether it's just on this occasion that it was like that. The plane's getting close to its destination. It's to the east of Shanghai, just passed over Taipei, getting close to Fukuoka and heading towards Kansai, to the south of South Korea. You can tell the screen doesn't have a very high resolution. And the colour, as I mentioned before, probably not the best either. I think Malaysia Airlines is trying to improve that. It already has done so on its A320 aircraft. I think it's the A330 aircraft, A330-200, and I think we'll try to improve that further in economy class on the Airbus A380-800, which will be introduced on the 1st of July, flying from Kuala Lumpur to London, and then later on they will introduce it on the Sydney to Kuala Lumpur route as well.
We hope you enjoy the flight and hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Captain was just making the announcement about the landing time and expected flight arrival details, such as the temperature, I think. Osaka time is exactly 1 hour ahead of Kuala Lumpur. Until there, the tailwind 167 kilometers per hour. That probably explains the sort of turbulence this cabin was experiencing at that time. It's really quite rough, and I would have liked a sort of break in that period of smooth flying, but it didn't really happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, the crew will be coming around to collect the headsets.
The crew tend to collect the headsets, or they always do on Malaysia Airlines, not on Qantas, which I flew on economy class recently on the A380. They allow you to keep. But if you have brought your own headset, I guess you can pretty much watch the entertainment right up or close up till landing.
We would like to thank you for your support and generosity.
Unless, of course, there's a presentation like this one, which is the destination video basically. And these are usually produced by the tourism authorities of the destination, sometimes in association with the airport. They're telling you about the Tourism Information Center, which you can find in the airport soon after landing. They'll have most of the information on the sightseeing destinations in the region. So Osaka is only part of this general Kansai region. There are many other cities such as Kyoto, Kobe, nearby. good transportation option after landing is probably the limousine, bus or the train instead of a taxi, because the taxis in Japan tend to be quite expensive. If you're catching it to the city from this airport, for example, it could easily run up to over close to $100 Australian. You can tell the train network is quite clean, quite efficient, and the trains are new and comfortable. I'd expect that to be the case for the limousine buses as well. So there'd probably be better options for transportation to and from the airport. Here they're telling you about the prepaid card options in the city and the Kansai region, which I guess is similar to what they have in Hong Kong with the Octopus card, the Easy Link in Singapore, and also in Kuala Lumpur they have the Touch and Go card in Malaysia, which is useful for their train system. Within the cities there that they mentioned, Kobe, Osaka and Kyoto, there are the metro stations, metro systems, subways, which are very convenient because they tend to be quite comprehensive and they tend to run smoothly, efficiently and on time.
Using Osaka as a hub for sightseeing, visitors can reach Kyoto, Kobe and Nara by train in less than an hour.
They're basically saying that you can use Osaka as a base and travel to Kobe, Kyoto by train very quickly on various train companies which they have in Japan. Most well known is probably Japan Rail. Kyoto is probably the best historical destination with history and quite well known for that. Perfect complement, they say, to Tokyo's modern nature. Kobe is where they had the earthquake, and obviously they've rebuilt since that time, so it's quite an interesting city as far as I know. So it's a region, Kansai, which is well connected by a transportation network which makes travel in the region quite easy and smooth, and if you want to know exactly how to find the destination that you're looking for, how to travel there, you probably best go to the tourism information centres where they probably be able to direct you using the best modes of transport, as well as providing information about wherever it is that you want to see. I think back then in the video you saw the Universal City. That's quite popular in Osaka region.
Convenient transportation and terrific sightseeing spots. And we here in Osaka are always ready to help you plan your trip. Welcome, and welcome back to Kansai. Have a nice day in Kansai.
That's the Osaka Castle, which I managed to visit on the trip. So the video is produced by the Association to promote the Kansai International Airport Overall Plan, which is an interesting name, I think, for a government body. And here the aircraft is approaching the destination. It's getting very close. You can tell the airport is located away from the mainland on an artificial man-made island. Kansai International Airport is quite well known already. There's also Central Japan Airport, which is also on a man-made island. That one's probably one of the higher ranked or better known airports as well now. Opened only in 2005, I think. Central Japan Airport. The legroom actually wasn't a problem there, as you saw, since I'm actually quite tall. So usually my legs have quite a bit of difficulty in economy class. Here was quite alright. Planes already landed here, and the announcement in Malay about the destination, about the temperature, about the time, and a thank you from the cabin crew for your custom in flying Malaysia Airlines. On behalf of the captain cabin crew and the flight crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kansai International Airport, Osaka. You are required to remain seated until the seatbelt sign is switched off and the aircraft has come to a complete stop. Do be careful whenever you open the overhead compartment.
You're usually not allowed to switch on your handphone or mobile phone until the aircraft has come to a complete stop and the seatbelt sign has been switched off. That pretty much applies to most airlines.
7 in the morning, and the temperature is 13 degrees Celsius.
So it's 13 degrees Celsius outside, which sounds quite cold, but when I went outside it was actually quite okay. The temperature was quite ideal.
Look forward to seeing you again.
A nice break from what I was experiencing in Malaysia, which was a very warm climate, and it's actually quite pleasant. Surprised it's only 13 degrees. So finally they have the announcement in Japanese, which repeats the information in the English and Malay announcements. Cabin, you can tell, even though it was about 6:30 in the morning, it was quite bright.
午前6時40分、外気温は摂氏13度でございます。お降りの際は忘れ物なさいませんよう、今一度お手回り品をお確かめください。また地上の物入れをお気になる際に、
Saw an advertisement for Langkawi on the screen.
十分ご注意ください。
Quite a nice island in Malaysia, it's west coast. And also you can hear the nasal sounds from the other passengers, which I tend to hear quite a lot towards the end of flights for some reason. I actually think it's something to do with cabin humidity, low cabin humidity causing possible irritation or aggravation of the sinuses. So anyway, thanks for watching this flight report, which was flight MH52.